One of the best rookies this past season was a power forward by the name of Brandon Clarke. Clarke was very productive off the bench for Memphis, and one of the reasons I want to discuss him is because he's a pretty unorthodox player. At his core, he's a rim running big, but there's a lot more than what immediately meets the eye, so let's get to it. The primary way he makes his impact is with his rim running skill set. It starts in transition, where Clarke is an absolute blur, and this makes him a real weapon on the break. He frequently outworks opposing bigs down the court, and here he runs by Whiteside, showing his all-around high-level athleticism. This made him a perfect fit with the run-and-gun Grizzlies, as Memphis ranked second in points per game in transition behind only Toronto, and the on-off numbers showed they ran much more with Clarke on the floor. Rim running can still add value in today's NBA. This skill also translated to the half court, where as a roll man, he's a beast catching alley-oops in the pick and roll. He has a special ability to contort in midair. Here he catches it on one side and then finishes with a reverse. And his coordination and leaping ability helped him shoot 74% at the rim, which put him in the 82nd percentile among bigs. Okay, cool, he's a blessed athlete, but he's also terrific on the short roll, where he has one of the league's best floaters. He shot 53% from 4 to 14 feet, which puts him in the 96th percentile, and you can see his feathery touch. It's also interesting to compare him stylistically with Christian Wood. Here Wood gets it on the short roll, and if this was Clarke, this would be a floater. But as you guys know, Wood is all power, and here he bullies Bradley. Clarke, on the other hand, is all finesse, and while he doesn't get to the foul line nearly as much as Wood, he's found success with the floater. And to top it all off, Clarke's a solid passer too. The Blazers trap Morant here, and as Clarke catches it on the roll, he nicely recognizes the help and finds Jang in the corner. Now, the other really fascinating aspect about Clarke as a roll man is that he never sets an actual pick. For example, notice as he goes to set the ball screen, instead of making contact with Derrick Jones, he quickly rolls into space. The general idea is that Clarke is a fantastic athlete, and the Grizzlies want him getting downhill as often as possible, and here we see again how he slips out of the ball screen. This gets him ahead of the ball and behind his defender Plumlee, which results in a lob. This play was a good example of why it can work. The screen is a real threat to Murray here, so watch closely as he looks to step over the top. Notice that step. That's all Jones needs to gain a slight advantage, and Clarke is already diving hard. This is an extremely common screening tactic, but Clarke takes it to a whole new level because no matter the context, he just won't set a pick. And to be honest, it kind of works. Here we see Clarke again roll ahead of the ball, and even if he doesn't get the lob, his gravity is important. He's either going to pull in the weak side defender, freeing up a 3, or get Canner to drop super deep, which here lets Allen score. Now, it won't work every time. Here, for instance, Clarke doesn't make contact, and if the on-ball defender can stay in front, the defense wins. That's what happens here as Trent keeps Brooks in front. Also, I found this quote from Tyus Jones on Clarke revealing. He's got really good timing on the roll, sitting in the pocket, knowing how fast to roll, how slow to roll. As a point guard, it makes my job a lot easier. So I would guess Jones likes Clarke's quick rolls, and also Jones is referring to plays like this, where Jones rejects the screen, and Clarke has good feel. He sits in the pocket where Tyus can get it to him. Anyways, more than anything, it's interesting how Memphis has seemingly told Clarke to never make contact on his ball screens, and here's an example of why screens don't always work. Valanciunas sets a good one on Fultz, but now he's behind Morant, where he's not a threat. So he's quite advanced as a rim runner, and on top of that, he has a respectable perimeter skill set, starting with his 3-point shot. he shot 40% from 3, and while he only attempted 1.7 threes per 36 minutes, he still added value as a floor spacer. His gravity was just enough off ball, allowing Memphis to stick him in the corner, and here he spaces as Jackson rolls to the rim. This adds a lot of versatility. He can be a dynamic rim runner, or spread the floor and open the paint. But by far the most interesting part of his perimeter game is his left-hand tendency. According to Second Spectrum data, he had 76 drives from the perimeter this season, and on 63 of them, he drove left. And here we see him drive left. It's not often you see a tendency split so drastic, but that's Clarke's game. He wants to drive left because he's more comfortable with his righty floater leaning left. Like I said before, he's a quirky, unorthodox player who relies heavily on his floater. But this works for him. The numbers show he's efficient on drives, and with his handle, he's able to attack closeouts pretty well. So he likes to drive left but finish right, and this is best seen with his spin move. He has tremendous balance on it, and it's one of the big reasons he likes to drive left, because if needed, he can counter the defender with a spin to his right hand. All that being said, getting more comfortable driving to his right is clearly an area he needs to improve. Here for instance, on the catch, this should be a rip into the space towards the right, but instead he passes it back to Morant. When closing out to Clarke, teams would be smart to force him right. But overall, he's a versatile, highly efficient offensive weapon. His 67% true shooting is 9th in the entire NBA, and for someone who takes weird floaters and threes, that's very impressive and valuable. Moving on to defense, and first let's establish that Clarke played 74% of his minutes at power forward this season, so he was mainly guarding fours on the perimeter, and he's a bit raw in this respect. For instance, here he's guarding Finney Smith in the corner, and he gets careless and leaves him open. Here's another example of him being careless off ball. It's one thing if he's helping here, but he's not and just gets stuck watching the ball. I wouldn't worry too much, but he can improve at some of these little things. Here after a miss, his man falls down, and as the ball is pushed, Clarke needs to get to the foul line to show up the middle, but instead he doesn't, and now Troy Brown can drive that gap. But these are mistakes you'd expect from a rookie, and the good news is he does add value in several ways. For one, he's a plus rebounder at the 4, always looking to crash and help out on the glass. This is a major benefit of playing a big like Clarke at the 4. He's naturally going to rebound more than guys like Gallinari and Melo, who used to be primarily small forwards. Here's a big time play. The shot goes up, and look how Clarke is active and crashes down to bump Whiteside, and then he grabs the board. Playing a big at the 4 will also improve your rim protection, and Clarke is no exception. Opponents shot 56% at the rim with Clarke nearby, which is a good mark for a 4, and he's active with weak side help. His feel on the perimeter is unpolished, but on the interior, he's more experienced and is smart about coming over, and here look how he and Valanciunas provide double rim protection. Lastly, he's also shown real promise as a switch defender on the perimeter. He has super quick feet that allows him to switch onto guards, and here he shuts down Napier. Memphis doesn't switch much, so he doesn't get to flash this skill often, but at some point it'll become valuable. He's a versatile player, and he has potential as a small ball 5 who can switch. When we look at 3 of the most respected all-in-one metrics, Clarke rates pretty well on offense. He's not a game-changing shot creator, but as a finisher there's few better. Defensively he rates as above average, and average to above average is how I describe him right now. As an older 23-year-old rookie, Clarke was good this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.